So we're officially recording. Welcome. This is an opportunity for us to just connect, and Heather and I were talking a little bit before we got started. I love that people are continuing to come on. That's awesome. I love that John and Deb have offered to join us during this time. Hi, Mom. And we see your neck. There you are. She's got all her marathon posters in the background. So this is an opportunity for us to just kind of hang out for a minute, see what questions you all have. I know just looking at this group and knowing many of you, but not all of you, that we've got a variety of different sort of paces and abilities, and some of you have experience with SpeedPlay, and some of you are brand new to this, and probably found some joy and some anxiety and some confusion in the last week, and that's awesome because that's where your growth comes from. So Deb and John, do you want to just kind of take us through, well, let's just actually back up and see what questions you all have. Do you guys want to just talk a little bit about, like, each of you individually, like who has something that they want to share from this past week? Things they liked, things they loved, things they were really confused by. We'll just start with your questions. Don't all speak up at once.
Start. I'm Heather, and I live in Appleton. I teach at Menasha High School, and I was going to start SpeedPlay for the first time. I run maybe a couple miles using the Nike Run app right now. I never did running when I was like in high school or anything like that, so I know very little, but I really want to enjoy it. And so I was really excited about SpeedPlay, but I'm just like I was saying, I didn't do it this week because I was going to do it this weekend. When I was running on Friday, I stepped on a rock and like landed a little wrong, so I wanted to rest a couple days. But I guess one of the things that I was like that was holding me back during the week was that I was feeling like I need to organize myself more. Like I looked at the list of things and like I don't know what they all mean. So it's like, I don't know if I need to like write it out better, or like if there's any tips or tricks for like total newbies, because even like some of the things I don't know what they mean. So I'm like, okay, I paced out like the 100 whatever, but now it's saying to do 20 and I don't even know how far 20 is. And so I just was feeling like it was too much work. So I just kept running like 2 miles, 3 miles instead of actually doing it. So I'm hoping to like get some organization tips or some help and do better this week.
Sure. Well, one of the things, there's nothing wrong with writing it down and taking a little note card with you, you know, that, or a piece of paper. We've had runners before that, you know, would write it on their arm. I'm not necessarily suggesting that, but you know, if you had a piece of tape and you wanted to tape it on your shorts or something like that, instead of holding the note card, that can be, you know, that can be a good idea. As far as, you know, like the how to step out, what I would just say for 20 meters is I would run out 20 steps, and just because your stride length is probably close to a meter, and it doesn't have to be precise, but if you would start and just count every foot plant, 20 of them, and put down, I don't know, usually I look for something on the sidewalk, or I would carry, I would find three little rocks along the way that I can say, okay, I'm going to set one. Here's my start. Here's 20. Then I'm going to count out 60 more steps and put a little rock down, and then 20 more steps, and that's going to be my finish for the 100. You know, and so
you would have 20 plus 60 plus 20, and that would get you to the 100.
That would get you to the 100-meter accelerations.
And then you would be doing different paces during that time, where the first 20 would be an acceleration, which just means start easy and build it. Then you would be, the fastest part of it would be the 60, where you concentrate on running relaxed, but then going a little bit faster. Then the last 20, you would be gradually slowing down and gradually cutting back, and then what we like to hear is when you gradually slow down, we can't hear you at all.
You know, and you would start, you know, when you start, you can start from a walk and then build up, just, you know, gradually accelerate. So And basically that first 20 meters is used as a transition from being standing still to being at a faster pace. And then you use the last 20 meters essentially to stop. And instead of stopping on a dime, you know, and saying, okay, I'm done, you want to just coast into a nice, like Deb was saying, a nice stop where you aren't pounding your feet to stop or anything like that. You're just kind of coasting it in. And whether it's precise, and the other thing to worry about that others might be thinking about too is it doesn't have to be precisely 100 meters or 200 meters. It just has to be a repeatable distance. So, you know, your steps might make it 18 meters and 56 meters and 18, and that's fine. And somebody else is like Jason, somebody who's taller, might be 22 meters and 64 meters and 22, but it doesn't matter. It's just to give you a transition to get up to pace, run the pace for a little ways, and then a transition to get back down again. And that's
Heather,
all.
I have a track near me, and but I actually did mine outside in front of the house because A, I wanted to have my phone with me to be able to kind of check the list, and B, because my kids were playing in the driveway. So rather than worrying about the actual distance, I got the approximate, which I think ended up being more like 90 total instead of 100. And I did exactly what Deb and John are saying. I didn't even measure out the 20, the 60, and the 20. I just conceptually like tried to wind myself up and see the same tree every time I was at sort of full speed. And full speed is relative for me. I mean, we're talking full speed is not the same. Like my full speed is Jason's warm up pace. So, and I don't even worry about that because it felt really good and really different to me. And I just, like they're saying, I just did the same thing. And then I would, because I'm a walk runner, I would walk back to the start location as my recovery. And as soon as I turned around to wind it back up again, I'd hit my watch so I could kind of keep track of what I was doing. So I did that. And as I pointed out in the Running Is Not Canceled group, I even shorted myself because I can't count. So, you know, there's chalk all over my driveway. I don't know why I didn't think to grab a piece of chalk and just like hashtag mark it. Yeah. But it still felt like an accomplishment because it was so different than what I was doing. So don't overthink getting all the pieces. Do your best and have some fun with it, and just go from there.
Yeah, that's refreshing to hear because I think I am sort of a perfectionist and like to follow the rules like to a T. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to follow the videos. And then like I watched some of the videos that sent me into like a pigeonhole of other videos of runners, and I live right by Appleton Alliance Church, so they kind of have a makeshift track anyways with light poles. So that's just like, I think what I needed to hear was it doesn't have to be exact because I was trying really hard to make it perfect.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's a matter of looking at it as I'm doing something different, and not to worry too much about it. And even if you just, you know, a lot of the stuff that we will do, especially with the first group, the ones that aren't in the advanced group, would be you're trying to learn little parts of it every week. And the first week, it always seems a little bit more overwhelming because like you were saying, you look at, oh man, I got skips and slides and karaoke and then I got this and that. And as time goes on, a lot of that will be repeatable so that you'll be able to say, okay, I forgot about the skips last time, but now I remember the skips and the slides and I do that. And at the end of 8 weeks, it'll all seem like, okay, this is a lot more automatic. But the first times you're doing it, and especially because this group, we're doing it with, it's just yourself for a lot of people. And that also makes it, when we were doing it at a track, you had also 10 other people, and Deb and I were there telling you, okay, here's what we're doing, and we can demonstrate it, and you follow along with the group, and you didn't have to remember anything. Now it's a little bit tougher. So a note card, or take a piece of tape and write it down on a piece of tape, and you'll be fine. That's a good question, very reasonable. I'm sure you weren't the only one that was going, oh my God, what have I gotten into here?
Yeah, John and Deb, missed having you there. I found it real helpful just to go to the track because I want to do it just right and not worry about the neighbors seeing me running really fast past their house or whatever. But to me, that helped a lot because I know exactly where 100 meters is
Yeah.
and where 200 meters is and all. And there's a lot of tracks around, a lot of the middle school tracks and the old tracks, not any of the good ones. They're open that you can get into.
Right. Where did you run yours?
I ran over the track by Thousand Islands Nature Center, the old Kakana track football field, their old football field.
Okay. Yeah. And I know that it's hard to find a track open in Oshkosh. I know Oshkosh West, or if I want, there's an old cinder track, that from way back in the day that's tucked into this neighborhood that we used to run when we were doing cross country with our collegiates because we could always count on no one being there and we could kind of hog the place. But yeah, I Jason, what about you? Where did you go?
Well, I was going to ask whether anyone knew of any tracks open in Appleton. I ended up running at a small cemetery near our house, and the corners were too tight. I could feel myself sliding off my shoes. So my plan, if I couldn't find a track, was to go out to the big Riverside Cemetery and just mark out 200 or 400 on the long straightaway because it's flat and it's wide open.
Jason,
You mentioned a track in your neighborhood, which is almost
I go right
my
over to
neighborhood.
Xavier Middle School. It's like a quarter mile from me, so that's part of my warm up. Yeah, so you could
Is
just,
that
it's
open?
open by the tennis courts and then it's open at the other end too.
Okay. Is that a 400 or 200 track?
400.
Okay.
You get what you pay
Well.
for over there, like John and Deb were saying. There are
Well, I
cracks.
think, and I think you will probably find that most of the nice, like you were saying, Stephen, most of the nice high school tracks, they're locked up. Like I suspect Calder Stadium is, Menasha's track. I suspect Nina's track is, but like junior high tracks, which they're still 400 meters, and we aren't world caliber athletes that we have to worry about, ooh, the surface is too hard or whatever. We're just looking for something that's marked. And so I know this week in Oshkosh, I'm going to go to the Oshkosh West track because I know for whatever reason they keep theirs is open and they even have a drinking fountain. But I'm just not sure if the drinking fountain works yet.
What other questions do you all have?
I really missed Deb at the end of every interval telling me to lower my shoulders and relax. I was thinking it. You're in my head.
She's in your head. Deb was in my head to keep my eyes up and not look down at the ground. So she's left a lasting impression on a lot of us.
That's good.
Eyes and good nature, eyes teasing.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got a question, and so you had in the email this week discussion about pacing, and I had trouble with pacing. I was doing the 200-meter intervals and the 200-meter rest. I had I could keep my fast intervals on pretty much on target, but because I'm not in really as good a shape this year as I was last year, I haven't been running very much. It made me. So I couldn't keep anything real consistent in the rest intervals. So what's some guidance on how those should relate? My faster interval to the rest interval. What was happening is I'd run and then I'd walk for 20 meters and then jog the rest of it. But I got more tired as I went. So what are your thoughts? Should I back off so that I can continue jog the slow interval?
Well, there's two different approaches with that. One would be to, all right, slow down the faster, but the other thing would be just keeping that recovery interval consistent would be something, I don't see anything wrong with taking 20 meters to walk and then start jogging again on it, especially as you as you get into shape, you might find then that pretty soon, oh, I don't need to do this 20-meter walk anymore. I can just continue to jog. And that, there's different ways to make the workout more difficult or to make it easier. One way to make it more difficult, obviously, is to go faster on the fast part. That's the most obvious way. But another way to make it more difficult is to go a little bit faster, take a little bit less recovery. And ways to make it easier would be, one way would be to slow down your pace on the fast stuff, or just take a little bit more recovery time. And who cares if you're, if you can just keep that recovery time pretty consistent throughout. I think after a couple weeks, it takes about 3 weeks to get a physiological benefit from what you're doing now. So, in about 3 weeks, you might find, oh, I don't need to do this 20-minute walk anymore. I'm really starting to feel like I'm getting in a better groove. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. What do you think, Doug?
I wouldn't worry too much about it either. And another thing that you could do is if you're walking 20 meters, you can gradually push that up without even knowing about it. It'll just come. Just tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna go 1 step more or 2 steps more, and then keep that up as you go. And pretty soon you'll be running the whole thing, and you'll be setting records.
So I think I wouldn't worry about. I think, like you had mentioned, you had been doing less running, but yet I'm assuming that those 200s at a faster pace feels comfortable for you. You like that pace?
Well, I just like to run fast.
Yeah.
And you can run fast. You look really good. You have good form that runs fast.
I wouldn't say it felt real comfortable because I hadn't done that since a long time, but and everything hurt a little bit the next day. But yeah, it felt all right. So I was able to do it consistently.
Okay.
And it kind of leads me to my second question. And this is about choosing the pace for the intervals. So last year I had a goal of trying to hit a particular time in the mile. And that's what, we were targeting for. It came really close last summer. And with that in mind, if I wanted to keep that in mind and choosing a pace for these 200 and later the 400 meter intervals, how should that relate? Should it be right at that time I'm shooting for, or should I be shooting to run actually faster than, say, my target time to achieve in a mile?
I think that you'll find that you'll run a little bit faster than what your target time is. And by a little bit, I mean maybe a second or two over a 200 and maybe 2 to 4 seconds over a 400 faster than what you think you were going to run the mile in. Wouldn't you say, Deb? It's slightly faster.
Yeah, it would be slightly faster because when you're running the mile, of course, your distance is longer. And
not too much.
To teach your body to go a little bit faster than what your pace is. So then when you're running your mile, it feels more comfortable.
So yeah, I would say I know that would be, I think that's what we found in our athletes and myself. I find that I would run the 200s and the 400s a little bit faster than what my mile pace, what I was actually shooting for. So I think that's good.
Yeah, and I would go, it's nice to go a little bit faster in the 200 and 400 because then when you jump into the mile and you get off the line, you're relaxed. It's not like hard and hammering right from the start, because you've already done something that's been faster, the 200, 400. So that can be a more relaxed pace.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions from the group? Burning questions.
I have a question. Hi, I'm Monty, and you guys have never met me before. I am actually from Dallas, Texas. So, yeah, Jane is responsible for me getting me into this group.
And you're in good hands.
But anyway, so I ran in high school, and I was 800, 1600 meter runner. And then, I just kind of run for fun now and to stay in shape. And, but this is the first time in a while I've done speed work, and I did some last week. So to kind of answer, to kind of support Heather's question, I found a park near my house. It's a 10-minute walk. So I kind of jog to the park to warm up. And then I had these cones. My children used to play soccer. So I had these soccer cones.
Oh yeah.
And I just grabbed a handful of them on my way out the door. I remembered them for some reason. And I set those down. I just walked out 20 paces and set them down, walked out 60, set the next one down, walked out 20, set the next one down, and ran on this concrete path. And in doing that, though, I think I tweaked something in one of my legs, because you said that injuries typically show up on one side of the body. And I was like, uh-oh. So I've been off for a week, but I think I'm fine now. But I guess one of my questions is, so when I go back, how do I know that I need to stop if I've been injured? And the other thing is, how many times per week? I think is it just once a week that you guys are doing this?
Just once a week. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I guess my real question is about the injury, making sure that I'm not running on something I shouldn't be running on.
All right. Well, what did you tweak?
I think it's my IT band, because it's in my hip and it kind of goes down my leg. So, but that's the way it was. Wednesday, I thought it was maybe a glute, because it just felt so tight in there. But then it just felt like it was going down my leg on Thursday. Because I did this on Tuesday afternoon at 4:00 in the afternoon in Dallas, Texas in June, which nobody was at the park, but it was really hot.
I was going to say,
nobody was at the park. So.
You're picking the absolute hottest time of the day.
Well, I knew nobody would be there, right? So I wouldn't feel weird.
Yeah, right. I guess, have you started running? Have you ran on it since?
Yeah, actually on yesterday morning, I did 4 miles, and I did intervals of like quarter mile walking, half mile running. Mm-hmm. And it was tight while the running phase, it was tight, but it wasn't hurting. So it's not comfortable, but not painful. And this morning I feel fine. I mean, I'm not sore or anything like that. So.
Well, that's a good thing, because generally, wouldn't you say, Deb? I mean, if you had re-injured it again, you probably would feel it more again today. Mm-hmm. 24 hours afterwards. I would just be a little bit careful and don't try to do these too fast.
Yeah, wait till your body, you feel really good about going, faster, and you're not worried about going faster. It's just, it's part of the workout. Here I go, and I'm ready. Where if you're worrying about it a little bit, then I would cut back and not go as fast. Still go faster than if you were just out doing a run, but not like lighting it up at all. And I would give it a little bit of a chance to heal a little bit more. Doing it in the heat probably actually helped your muscle, because it was nice and warm then.
Yeah, and I would say, like for this week, we have some like 6 times 200 with a 200 recovery. Maybe just do 3 and see how that goes and analyze that. And then if that goes all right, then the following week you can add a little bit more to it, whatever we happen to do. But let's just my suggestion would be probably just do half of it. And
if you feel any twinges or you're in any pain, then cut it.
Yeah, then just stop.
Don't try and finish the workout. Just cut it from there.
And no matter how good you feel, don't do more than 3.
Okay.
Even if you feel like, oh man, I could have easily done more.
Save it for next week.
Save it. Plenty of time. It's a long summer, so you'll have plenty of time to build on that. It's a hard thing for us. I mean, it's hard for me to do that, even though I should know better. It's still hard to just say, all right, let's just, if I've got a little something, which I had a little injury, a little tweak in my calf came out of nowhere on a run. And I kind of hobbled home on it a little bit, because you got to get back home. And anyway, I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna take a couple days. So I ended up taking 5 days off, didn't run at all for 5 days. And then the 6th day I ran just a couple miles. And then the following week I was back to being able to do pretty much what I wanted to. I would have said I ran about 80% of what, if I was looking at running 35 miles a week, I think the next week I ran about 25. And now I didn't feel it at all in that time. And you won't lose anything in that short a period of time.
Okay.
So
we just have a couple more minutes. I want to mention a couple things and then see if Deb and John want to kind of wrap us up with any thoughts for this week's workout. So for those that are maybe going to be watching this after we record it and push it back out again, so 400 is a lap around, generally a lap around a track. It's typically approximately, we're using approximations, a quarter mile. So for those of you that are moving from the 100 meters to the 200 meters, you can generally think of it as half of a quarter, right? So it would be either halfway around a track, or if you've gone around your block, it's going to be 2 of those streets versus 1 around the block, or maybe it's 1.5, depending upon how big your block is. To Jason's point, if you're turning a corner, you want to be very thoughtful about not turning a sharp corner, because that is going to put a lot of pressure on the knees or the ankles, or in Jason's case, sliding off the edge of his shoe. So be mindful of those things. Are you someplace like, again, Monty's example of being in a park where maybe you've got like a less aggressive angle to turn. Maybe you're just picking a time. If you absolutely can't figure out how to measure, just pick a time and continue to go back and forth and complete that time. For me, 200 takes like a minute and 40 seconds. So just is what it is. I could run anywhere for a minute and 40 seconds and then walk for probably double that and get the same benefit of a workout. Injuries like an IT band injury, so those are irritations because your body's trying to protect you. So keep in mind, for those of you who are doing speed work for the first time in a long time, or maybe even ever, which is probably most of us at this point right now, like for this season, just let your body ease into that. Make sure that you're increasing your hydration, because dehydration can wreak havoc on the muscles, and that's not just bringing water with you, that's the before and that's the after. And the stretching that you guys are doing is to help push the lactic acid out of the muscles afterwards, so that you don't have to have the 24 and the 48-hour irritation. So just come back from your workouts feeling excited to do it again, as opposed to thinking, oh my God, I barely survived that. And yes, for people that are wondering, absolutely, we only want you doing this 1 time a week. 1 time a week is definitely a massive increase over 0 times a week. So some of you are going to get excited, and some of the people watching this are going to get excited and be like, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, let's do it. I feel great. And you're going to last a week or 2, and then you're going to be like, your body's going to say, forget it. So ease your way into this. If this gives you motivation, we had a couple people saying, oh my God, I had so much fun. I'm falling back in love with running, or I'm getting really excited about this because I'm learning new things. That's great. Use that energy to fuel other parts of your workouts. What lessons can you take from the speed work that can improve the other workouts that you're doing? The warming up, the stretching, being mindful of dynamic exercises. The videos that were put in there are from other resources that we have at Fleet Feet. So we want you all to have access and to be learning along the way. And don't worry about getting overwhelmed about stuff. Just take the pieces that you can absorb. And if it's too much, take what you can and move along, and you'll learn the next time. Any final parting thoughts, Deb and John, that either one of you has for like things to think about for this week? The workout has gone out to everybody.
Yeah,
Some of it's going to be new.
Getting back to your point too, on if you don't have a track or something, you can always, like Jason was saying, he might go into the cemetery to do his run. Well, he could start at some oak tree, and Jason, let's say, he's aiming to run a 6-minute mile. So that would be 90 seconds for 400. So he could just run 90 seconds and look around and see, okay, how far did I get? And remember that mark, and then just try to get to that mark in 90 seconds or a little bit faster every time. And now it doesn't really matter if it's 420 meters or 380. It's, you know, in the grand scheme of things, he's duplicating that effort repeatedly, and that can be, that's a good thing.
I know this week I checked the weather forecast. Runners are doing that constantly. And it looks like it's a pretty good week for training. The heat is out of here. We might have to dodge a few raindrops, but otherwise everything should go pretty smoothly.
Except maybe in Dallas. That
Except
might
in
be,
Texas, yeah.
It's going to be a little warmer down in Dallas, and I can't speak for that.
We have 2 people signed up from Texas, so I don't know if you know the other person, but that's pretty fun.
No, but the best time to work out in Dallas is like 6 in the morning.
Middle of the night, yeah.
It's only
Well, I'm so grateful for all of you joining us. Again, we've got over 100 people signed up for this program. So for those of you that are watching this, you know, after the live when it's been recorded and pushed back out again, you know, our goal is for you to build these skills and to continue through the program. I'd love to see all 104 of us complete the program all 8 weeks. So that's my challenge to all of you. Next week, we'll have information in the newsletter that will help you, like to Stephen's point, kind of start to think about what would my pace be? What should my target pace be based on my current running abilities, of whether it's a 5K, a half, or a full marathon distance, and what do I need to aim for and target as I work towards whatever my goal is. So we'll push that out next week, but I would just want you guys to be thinking about being consistent and starting to feel comfortable with this idea of pacing at a faster pace than what you're used to. So thank you. Happy Father's Day to all of you. Happy Father's Day, whether you are a father, you're celebrating a father, you're missing a father, you're thinking about a father, you're social distancing with your father. I hope you have a terrific rest of your Sunday, and we'll hopefully see you all next week.
All right, sounds good.
Sounds good.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Good to
Take
see you all.
care.
Stay
Happy running. As always, happy running.
Thank you.
Take